Right now, in central China, a nation of 1.4 billion people is watching a wall of concrete that holds back an entire river system. And for the first time in its history, that wall is being pushed to its absolute limit. This is the Three Gorges Dam. It is the largest hydroelectric structure ever built by human hands. It took 12 years to construct. It displaced more than 1 million people, and it was engineered to be indestructible. But this year, the water pouring into it reached 75 million liters every single second. That is the highest inflow ever recorded in the history of the dam. To put that into perspective, engineers opened 11 separate outlets just to release 49.2 million liters of water every second. And even that was the largest emergency discharge since the dam was built. And here is the part that should worry you. The dam can only handle inflows of about 98.8 million liters per second before it reaches its absolute design limit. Officials expected the reservoir to climb to 165.5 meters, and the wall itself was only built to withstand 175 meters. That gap is shrinking every single day. So how did China get here? For 2 straight months, central and southwest China have been hit by torrential, relentless rain. Rivers across the country, including the mighty Yangtze, have swollen to levels not seen in decades. And this is not the first time China has faced a crisis like this. Back in 1998, the country suffered its worst flooding in modern memory. More than 2,000 people died. Almost 3 million homes were destroyed. And now, officials are once again reaching for the same desperate emergency measure they used back then: blowing up dams on purpose to control where the water goes. In Anhui Province, authorities detonated explosives on a dam along the Chui River just to force water levels down by more than 2 feet. Engineers are intentionally destroying infrastructure because the alternative, an uncontrolled dam failure, would be far worse. Meanwhile, upstream in Chongqing, a major commercial hub in Sichuan province, nearly 300,000 residents were evacuated before the floodwaters even arrived. When the water hit, it submerged signs that stood 3 meters tall. It swallowed buildings several stories high. Roads, bridges, parks, and an entire commercial highway went underwater. 260,000 people were directly affected, and at least 20,000 businesses suffered damage. Firefighters had to use boats just to pull trapped residents out of flooded neighborhoods. Water levels near Chongqing hit heights not seen since 1981, a year China still remembers as one of its most catastrophic flood years on record, when 1.5 million people were left homeless. And it's not just the cities. In Jiangxi province, a 620-foot break in the embankment of Poyang Lake, China's largest freshwater lake, triggered flooding across 15 villages and destroyed agricultural fields. More than 14,000 people had to be evacuated before crews could finally seal the breach. Even ancient history is not safe from this disaster. In Sichuan, emergency crews are racing to protect the Leshan giant Buddha, a cultural monument that has stood for 1,200 years. Floodwaters have now reached the toes of the statue for the first time since 1949. That is not just a headline. That is a marker of just how extreme this flooding event truly is. Nationwide, the numbers are staggering. More than 150 people have died or gone missing because of flooding and landslides, 23 of them in just the last few days alone. 1.8 million people have been evacuated across the country. And the direct financial damage is already estimated at more than 49 billion yuan, which converts to roughly $7 billion in losses, according to China's own Ministry of Emergency Management. There are also warning signs this crisis could ripple far beyond China's borders. The Chinese Academy of Social Sciences has projected a potential food supply gap of around 130 million tons because of the damage to farmland and crops. In a country of 1.4 billion people, and a world that depends on Chinese agricultural output and manufacturing, a supply shock of that size does not stay contained. It moves through global food prices, global trade, and eventually, it reaches everyday people at grocery stores, thousands of miles away. So far, officials insist the Three Gorges Dam will hold. The Ministry of Water Resources has pointed to over 111 large reservoirs positioned upstream that are designed to absorb pressure before it ever reaches the main dam. China's leader personally visited Anhui Province this week, standing atop a floodgate and telling soldiers that the nation has fought natural disasters for thousands of years and will continue to fight. But here is the real question nobody in power wants to answer out loud. What happens if the next flood crest, the one expected to hit the dam within days, pushes inflows past what the structure was ever designed to survive? Major cities like Wuhan, home to tens of millions of people, are downstream of that dam. If confidence in that structure is misplaced, the consequences would not just be regional, they would be historic. Right now, all we know for certain is what has already happened, what officials have confirmed, and what the numbers show. What happens next is still unfolding in real time, and that is exactly why you need to be paying attention. If this story matters to you, if you want to understand what's really happening behind the headlines before it becomes tomorrow's global crisis, hit that subscribe button right now. We're tracking this dam, this flood crisis, and what it means for the world's economy, every single day.